Legendary boxer George Foreman has died at 76, according to a statement released by his family Friday night on his official Instagram account. The cause of death was not initially revealed by the family. Foreman was a two-time world heavyweight champion and Olympic gold medalist who is regarded as one of the hardest punchers in boxing history. One of his most memorable punches was the knockout blow he landed against Michael Moorer in 1994 when Foreman became the oldest heavyweight champion in history at 45. He was inducted into both the World Boxing Hall of Fame and the International Boxing Hall of Fame. But my life is much more than boxing. I've been knocked out more outside the ring than in the ring, Foreman told USA Today in 2023. Remembering those we lost. Celebrity Deaths 2025. Opinion. George Foreman didn't just rumble in the jungle. He lived a remarkable life. He was married 5 times. He had 12 children, and one of them, Frida, died in 2019 by apparent suicide. One of his most famous fights came against Muhammad Ali in the so-called Rumble in the Jungle that took place in 1974 in Zaire. He vowed to kill Ali in the ring. Instead, it was Ali who knocked out Foreman. But Foreman said he was less demoralized by being knocked out than failing to knock out Ali. I just knew no one could stand up to my punch, Foreman told USA Today in 2014. But Muhammad did. His taking those punches, I went away thinking, what is going on here? That's not supposed to happen. That bothered me more than anything. A late friendship with Ali. Just 3 years later, he retired from boxing. But in 1979, he returned to the ring at 39 and eventually stunned the boxing world. In 1994, 2 decades after his loss to Ali, Foreman fought Michael Moorer, then 26, for the World Championship. He won by knockout in the 10th round and news of the feat elevated him to champion for the second time of his career. He retired for good at 48 with a record of 76-5 with 68 knockouts. But his life outside the ring marked a striking transformation in the public eye. Foreman evolved from a villainous boxer who once promised to kill Ali in the ring. A few years later, Foreman experienced what he referred to as a religious awakening, and he later became a preacher and businessman who sold millions of George Foreman grills. And Foreman and Ali, who died in 2016, went from bitter enemies to close friends. After becoming the oldest heavyweight champion, Foreman said he received a congratulatory letter from his old nemesis. Can you imagine that? Foreman said during a 2014 interview with USA Today. Who would think almost 20 years later, there's Muhammad, my conqueror, congratulating me in fighting for the championship of the world and winning it. Ellipsis. I was pretty close to hating him, I wanted revenge. He became the best, and one of the longest friends, I've ever had. I love him to this day. An Olympic gold medal, 40-0 record. Foreman was born January 10, 1949 in Marshall, Texas and, by his own admission, was a troubled youth. He dropped out of school at 15. Boxing provided salvation. He took up the sport at 16 and a mere 3 years later he won an Olympic gold medal at the 1968 Olympics in Mexico City. He turned pro in 1969 and his power became legendary. He knocked out 10 of his first 11 opponents, and most of his fights ended with opponents on the canvas. In 1973, he became heavyweight champion for the first time when he beat Joe Frazier by second-round TKO. His record improved to 40-0 before Foreman suffered his first defeat, against Ali in the Rumble in the Jungle. The loss to Ali became a defining moment, but during a 2014 interview with USA Today, Foreman recalled another moment with Ali. In 1989, Foreman said, he and Ali were in England with Frazier, Kenny Norton and Larry Holmes as part of a Champions Forever tribute. It was 5 years after Ali had been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. He was still mouthy, Foreman said, and he made a statement, and it was on the front of some London paper, that, God is black. They had a picture of him on the front page, and Frazier didn't like it. Frazier didn't like Muhammad. Later, Foreman recalled, the boxers were putting on tuxedos for a photo shoot. Ali came down and he was alone, Foreman said. He couldn't put on his cuff links. He couldn't even put the bow tie around his neck. And I made certain there wasn't any cameras around and I took him in the room and I fixed him up because I wanted to make sure they see the beautiful Muhammad Ali. Frazier saw what happened, and on a ride back from the event that night, he was livid, according to Foreman. Frazier said, "Don't help him. Don't help him. Where are all those people that were screaming Ali? Where are all those hangers-on now? Nobody better help him. Leave him alone," Foreman said. And I remember telling him, "Joe, we are our brother's keeper." There I was for the first time protecting what I was trying to destroy. As a boxing analyst for HBO, Foreman further cultivated his likable persona and he was engaging and readily available for interviews. Although as Mike Tyson prepared to fight Jake Paul on November 15, Foreman communicated by text message, "If he gets in shape like he's in now, and then gets his timing back, and all the other things fall into place, he can have an opportunity to fight for the title," Foreman said before Tyson lost to Paul by unanimous decision. While Foreman withdrew from the public eye, lawyers were fighting on his behalf. At the time of his death, Foreman faced civil lawsuits from 3 women who said he sexually abused them in the 1970s. He denied the charges. Athletes and boxing figures from across the world paid tribute to Foreman as news of his death spread Friday night. "Tonight I am flooded with tears after learning of the death of my dear friend and broadcast partner George Foreman," Hall of Fame boxing announcer Jim Lampley said in a statement. "I loved him. He was a great fighter and a far, far greater human being. Every great thing that ever happened to him, and there were many extraordinary blessings, was richly deserved. My thoughts and prayers tonight are with his family and his friends and his congregation. It's a massive loss, but I feel blessed and privileged to have known him and spent countless hours in his presence. He's with Ali now, and they are at peace with each other. Condolences to George Foreman's family. His contribution to boxing and beyond will never be forgotten," Tyson wrote on X. "George was a great friend to not only myself but to my entire family. We've lost a family member and are absolutely devastated," top-ranked promoter Bob Arum said in a statement. This story was updated for editing changes and to add new information.